much damage lost here because the boss is transitioning anyway, but we do have another 5 seconds in favor of Marsy if they really hurry up. But I mean, at this point, 30 seconds is still too small for our head, honestly, as of the game at the moment. Of course, they are now transitioning to the final ship where they will try and finish off the boss, as they are not friends and do not see eye to eye on things.
Do not, indeed. And of course, this guy, our friend, our Vizdoom, as more friends we have to be taken care of here. So getting all these sentries down together and getting them all AoE down before you have to engage with the boss again. The boss is going to be trying to tear a rift open, so you have a very, very long cast ahead of him. So be waiting a while to be interrupting him at the very, very last moment. So that way you're having to deal with less and less of his mechanics, of course, before you have to fight him off and kick him out.
Now, the main thing to watch out for is there are 3 Chaos Orbs cast on this last platform. That's going to be the real check to make sure that honestly is completely stable and will kill the boss. If they're lucky, they'll there's the first one already. If they're lucky, I was going to say they'll be able to kill the boss off before, but not in a fortified setting. So there are 2 more about to be going off in the group here. They have to be really careful. The tank does go down. I don't think they have the battle res available. Nib pops as well. Nib goes down to, this is a disaster. They have no res on the tank. Dorothy's going to be going down in a second as well, and that is a full team wipe for, honestly. In the meantime, Free Marsy has 2 deaths on their board as well. I don't know if they have any battle res available. They do get arrow up right now. They both get up. Both battle res is gone for the 2 teams. We're going to have transition to phase 3 here in a moment for Team Marsy, and if they can clutch this kill at the top, we're going to be going to a game 5. Too early to tell right now, but we'll have to see. Honestly, at this point is just hoping that Free Marsy is going to have a wipe so that they can overtake them on the retry, because the run back right now to Vizdoom, including all the trash that they skipped, is a huge punishment.
Yeah, and you're seeing right here, Free Marsy, all they have to worry about is these Chaos Orbs that are coming out. That was what wiped Team Honestly. If they're able to take care of these, if they're able to play safe, they can do this. All they need to do is just play very, very safely here. They have a huge advantage in terms of the depth differential. They just cannot die here.
Just remember your training. That's all they need to do right now.
That's right.
They have to keep an eye on these mobs coming in right now, make sure they're not taking too many stacks on the tank and slowing them and stacking that fire dot too badly. And of course, there are some bats floating around, some fell bats, popping their guano all over. Poom does take it to the face with the disintegrate, unfortunately. We know they will not have that battle res as they use it downstairs. The 3 Chaos Orbs debuffs go out. This is going to be the real test here to see if they can stay alive as well. Here come the 2 explosions. Brath getting so low, they're not able to heal him up right now. They finally get him. The perk does proc. Chaos Orbs everywhere. Serace is the only one alive. We're going to have another full wipe from Team Marsy as well. Honestly, he's already come back. Luckily, they do have 3 stealth members as they can come back and res Warlord in the meantime and have another pull at the boss. Free Marsy just gave away a free opportunity to take this to a game 5, and now they're just going to hope. They have to deal with this trash, but they're just going to hope to God that honestly messes up again in order to take this map.
Or that they can get some kind of huge advantage in terms of the trash percentage, because, like you said, honestly does have to deal with the trash, and they wipe again!
Oh, this is a mess. Free Marsy isn't even released at the moment. Not exactly sure what's happening there.
Honestly, is just letting everyone die so that way they're able to get the full mass res off. Okay, that's how they're going to be dealing with the trash. But again, this is more percentage. This is more time getting added onto the clock and just having twice as many deaths as their opponents here. So, I mean, it is weird to see that Free Marsy has actually not released yet.
This is certainly the smarter call. Yeah, Dorothy coming in. I'm not sure what's happening on Free Marsy's end. They could be having perhaps the same bug as they did earlier, where they're not able to respawn death, which would be unfortunate. We'll have to see what happens with that. We'll wait to hear if there's any ruling on that right now. But Free Marsy indeed just laying there eating some dirt, while in the meantime, Dorothy is running around for honestly trying to res all of his members right now.
It does make you wonder if, again, there was that, the release bug that they were actually, having to deal with there. So, I mean, that'll be the thing to kind of watch out for as, the rest of the team honestly is reforming here as, we're unfortunately seeing, just Free Marsy just lying there on the floor. So it'll be very interesting to see, because both teams were so close to getting this down. I mean, it was just that last second little choke there that was happening where they were at 3%, 4%.
It's that triple Chaos Orb, man. You got to spread out well for that. In the case of Team Marsy, one of the melee that had it and the tank were so close together, so they just splashed each other to death right there and then. Honestly, of course, getting full screen at the moment. We'll have to hear what's going on with Marsy in the meantime, but honestly prepping right now to re-pull Vizdoom, and we'll see what happens.
Do you think that maybe the team got word that Marsy was free?
Maybe.
Their quest was complete?
Either that, or after this boss wiped them, they just felt that they were Vizdoomed and could no longer complete the instance. We'll just have to keep an eye on what they do. As soon as we know something, we'll let you know. But of course, honestly, being full screened here, we'll be re-pulling Vizdoom, hoping to finish the job that they couldn't earlier and taking the series.
I mean, you're seeing, honestly, of course, working through this, taking advantage of that spell reflect, of course, that they're able to just deal with. Oh, Warlord is going down from the chaotic orbs, and again, it's just so deadly.
Oh, they do have a battle res, okay.
Honestly,
where do they keep getting these battle reses from?
You do see Free Marsy actually is engaging with the boss here.
Okay. You know what? There might have been some lag from the Absorber. It wouldn't be the first time we've seen that. And anyway, either way, we have now caught up. Free Marsy is pretty neck and neck once again with Honestly. There is a huge death differential, though. 9 death differential that, you know, honestly, we'll have to try and overcome at this point. They are ahead on the boss. I don't know if to the level of 9 deaths, so at this point.
Or it's so much extra time there. I mean, both teams just getting pretty bloody in this instance, and that was one of the biggest things that we were looking at, just saying, you know, like, this is going to be a scary pick. This is not going to be something that, you know, guilds are going to be able to do super, super cleanly, because even if you, like, Free Marsy's position, they went very, very cleanly through everything else, but then they wiped, and that is, you know, the whole point of the 7 deaths that they're receiving right now.
The most dangerous part of the fight is at the very end with those 3 Chaos Orbs going out. The luxury of being on a fortified map in this dungeon is that usually you can kill the boss before those explode and kill anyone. With this being tyrannical, we're going to have to deal with those every single time. So we're going to have to see here when Honestly reach it, how well they're going to execute it. And same on Free Marsy side, they both wipe to the same thing. But keep in mind, Honestly's going to have to make up a 45-second death differential.
And that's something that they just don't really seem to have time to do. I mean, Warlord dropping a little bit low there from the ball. He's still very, very low here, trying to make sure he's getting himself topped off before, you know, the next phase is going to be coming out. So it's just they're going to need some insane amounts of damage. They're going to be needing to just focus the bosses really, really hard here just to get, you know, something done, make sure that they're able to seal out this victory if they can.
Right you are, Jack. Honestly, heading over to the 3rd ship for the 2nd time, getting ready to pull all those extra smaller Fel Lords, plus all the kind of bat guano going down, splashing damage, needing to be a bit spread out. The last thing you need is extra damage on this platform, of course. In the meantime, Free Marsy dealing with the boss at 2nd phase, chewing through. We do see the first set of Chaos Orbs go out. Another one will be exploding momentarily from Poom, making sure he's going to put in a good position to make sure nobody gets clipped by that. They don't have any scary deaths. 7% more. They will be transitioning to the last platform as well, and Honestly now chewing through the boss as quickly as they can. We're going to see that triple stack of Chaos Orbs going out in a moment.
And both teams just have to be very well prepared for this. You have to be very well spread out. You have to actually just get an instant dispel off. Make sure that you're easily able to get, you know, people topped off here. Okay, Dorothy's back. I was worried that he was falling off the ledge.
He did get punted, but it was in a safe direction, technically. So there's the first Chaos Orb Dispel. We're going to pay particular attention to the 2nd explosion. Players spread out there. They dodged the orbs well, and now they're finishing up the last couple of percent. Meow does get ticked there. Luckily, doesn't go down. Vizdoom does go down. We have 45 seconds for Free Marsy to finish this boss and keep their hopes of winning this championship alive.
And again, it's 2-1 right now in favor of Honestly. You know, Free Marsy needs this game to stay in the race here. You know, still be qualifying or still be eligible for that $50,000 grand prize here. So 16% left on Free Marsy, for Vizdoom, for Free Marsy's team. You know, they just have to keep on pumping. They have to keep on going here.
They have 20 seconds left. The 3 Chaos Orbs go out right now. Those are going to explode after 8 seconds. First one is dispelled right away. Well dodged. Going to make sure to spread out the players here. We have 10 seconds remaining for them to clinch the kill on this boss and send this series to a Game 5. Both Chaos Orbs go down. Some of the melee get clipped right now. They will manage to kill the boss.
Free Marsy takes it.
Seconds remaining.
Damn.
Downstairs by himself.
Aw.
Afraid and alone forever. And the Druids will res him up on the ledge after they will likely pull what I would expect to be the boss and the trash together, as they did do it in the previous map when it was fortified. Warlord, of course, dying here and now. Now, Free Marsy does have half of that advantage as well. They have 2 people that can stealth, so they'll likely do that, but that's still a 10-second differential between the 2 that, you know, could come into play later.
Yeah, and this is just one of the big advantages the team honestly really has and really wants to be able to keep on utilizing, is that they are able to move through this very, very quickly. And when you're in these situations where, I mean, Team honestly lost by 4 seconds, you know, if they are able to spare a couple extra deaths here and there, more power to them, because this is going to be what they need and what, in their eyes, they're really going to be needing. This is their big strength here. So, of course, you saw Warlord is getting resurrected as per usual, missing his time on the ground, but he did release his, you know, his ally there. He did release his demon, but when they hop back down, he will be able to enslave it again right away.
Right, you are. At this point, Free Marsy, of course, falling a bit behind. They still have to deal with that first demon pack that Honestly already dealt with, having MC'd one of those mobs. We're now pulled upstairs. Team Honestly will be pulling all of the trash on top of the boss. This guy has a huge hitbox. Pumps has to do a very good job to make sure he pre-moves the boss so that he doesn't get any significant healing from the Sanguine going on the ground. That's a lot of damage that you have to chew through. Now, Jack, we do know this boss has several abilities, including that kind of AoE slash, the shadow zones coming down from the bats, everything amplified by the fact that it's tyrannical. The most dangerous one of them all right now, of course, will be the AoE stomp. That could easily put you into one of the fissures on the side. That will immediately be a one-shot. But the stomp itself is going to be very dangerous on tyrannical.
Yeah, especially as you're moving higher and higher in damage. Just like you said, you know, it's very, very dangerous. And Team honestly should have a res here for Warlord to get him back up. if they so choose. I mean, he's at 70, boss is at 70% here, so they definitely want to be getting him up here. And he is actually enslaving the Chaos Bringer. I didn't actually think that the Chaos Bringer, maybe it been from the trash mobs?
When he died, the Chaos Bringer reset to its original position up the stairs, so they will likely re-enslave it when going back down the stairs, I would assume. I don't think it's MC'd right now, if I'm not mistaken.
I believe he just casted it, but it would be interesting to see get an angle on it. So
that's possible.
Yep, but it's, it's very, very dangerous, and you want to make sure that you are focusing on your positioning here, especially his melee, because if you're ever trying to swivel behind the boss, make sure you're sitting behind the boss at all times. Well, his back might just be facing to another of those fissures that you really have to be watching out for.
Keep in mind, something we haven't seen in a while, actually we haven't seen it since yesterday's series, is we're back to quaking right now. And with this quaking, oh yeah, you're right, I do see the Chaos Bringer there on the side. Jack, you're absolutely right, he did re-MC it, so it is working in their favor once again. What I wanted to mention though, that the combination of this stomp, and all these high damage abilities on these tyrannical bosses, we're back to quaking now. Quaking does a pulse every 20 to 25 seconds on the entire team simultaneously that will deal 20% of your max HP on you. Now, if you're stacked with someone else, or if it's in combination with another big hit ability like the Stomp, it could one-shot a player easily.
Yeah, it's a very scary position that you're seeing here, is that because the Fell Fissures are kind of put into, position in no real particular order at all. So, you're definitely losing more and more real estate as this goes on, and it definitely puts more and more pressure to be killing the boss as rapidly as you possibly can.
Now, something we haven't really seen before is in this tournament, that is, Free Marsy's actually opting to go through the Demon Wing quite properly, CCing and making sure they don't have to deal with the big Fel Lord adds, but they will be killing most of this trash, meaning they'll have the luxury later of skipping a lot of the trash, which does mean they get to save those 3 extra dress. Here's the stealth from the Rogue, so they're kind of killing half the trash and skipping the other half right now. Smart of them to do, because they do know that it is not an advantage they have, like, honestly, with the stealth that they do.
Yeah, it's a nice way of doing it, especially when you're looking at, what do they have to kill in order to get up there? How much can they actually take advantage of course, the Rogue stealth? So I really like how they're doing this. You're trying to avoid any kind of possible deaths. Free Marsy's been playing very, very cleanly here, but it will be interesting to see what they are actually able to be skipping in terms of trash, because we did see, honestly, it was kind of just running all over the place the last time that we saw them in the Arcway, trying to get that last couple trash percentage, so maybe they're banking on that.
Honestly, does finish off the Fel Lord, and of course the Chaos Bringer comes back out of stealth. They will have to kill it off prior to jumping down, and then have to make their way over all the way to the right wing. In the meantime, Free Marsy finishing the penultimate trash pack, and then I hope and assume that they will also pull the trash with the boss. Otherwise, that's just kind of raw cleaved efficiency that they're going to fall. That's going to cause them to fall behind on the boss if they don't do that. So we'll see exactly how they have to pull here. In the meantime, honestly, moving back up the stairs, they will re-control that Chaos Bringer on their way to the right hall.
Yeah, and it's nice to see that team honestly is able to take advantage of these Chaos Bringers here. Free Marsy is of course working on just the last bits of trash and stuff like that before the boss. They did not pull everything before they pulled the boss. So again, that's more time that they have to really be worrying about here, is because they honestly had no problem making these big pulls, and we've seen this kind of consistently. The teams that are comfortable making these large pulls, making them efficiently, and playing it, and not worrying about playing it super, super safe, they will steadily kind of snowball and get these nice big advantages.
Yep, and yeah, it's just a bit of an advantage there for, honestly, Free Marsy deciding to play it a bit safer. And moving on to this next wing, we're going to see a lot of dangerous casting mobs, not just the Withered, but of course some of the elementals coming after Course-lax. Got the right one this time, like twice in a row today.
I know you're on a roll here.
And which the Boomkin will shine particularly in terms of utility with that solar beam. Very, very, heavy amount of cast going out. So having that elongated silence within that preset zone is going to be very useful for them. Team Marsy, of course, working over on General Zakal in the meantime. 68%, honestly moving already towards the room of Course-lax.
And you're seeing, Free Marsy will be taking a little bit longer to be downing this boss. They weren't having that extra cleave damage from a more aggressive pull that Honestly did. Of course, Team Honestly had the Warlock advantage where they are able to enslave the demon, have it buff their other players, and it just really, really starts compounding on top of itself. So that's where you want to be seeing. I mean, the big question that you want to be seeing here is how efficiently, because this is the one big issue that the Team Honestly had, was pulling enough trash, because they were very, very good at skipping overly large amounts of trash, but when they had to get enough, they kind of were just wandering all over the place, making sure they had the percent. So that's when I want to see them clean.
Yeah, you are right. Yeah, because you're right. I do remember them going around kind of hunting for that last green goo at the end, so hopefully they remember that from last time. Free Marsy, of course, will have that trash advantage. I mean, they're still ahead by 6%, and then I haven't done any of this trash that they're doing by virtue of the fact that they did kill a bunch of demons in that wing. Honestly, similar to the last pull we saw last time they did Arcway today, pulling both packs at the same time, taking advantage of those non-damage haste zones that go down. Of course, not similar to the ones in Cathedral that now do a ton of damage for AoE, and pulling this last pack. Important on this last pack to make sure that they time killing that Reclaimer just after the bubble goes down, actually killing all 3 mobs just after the bubble goes down, so they have that 50% haste advantage leading into this tyrannical version of Course-lax.
Yeah, but you're seeing actually the Reclaimer going down very, very rapidly here. Spell swords are going the shields up, so we're not going to be seeing any of the haste bubble at all because he went down so quickly.
Yeah, no, that's an unfortunate kind of misplay there, really, at this level that you'd expect. So they do kite around the last few mobs, pumps. Not too dangerous damage there. They do spike the tank, but in a non-fortified setting, it's not as dangerous. Of course, the last now we do know from earlier, not too dangerous of a boss, but you do have to make sure that you break your buddy out of the prison early when he does imprison one of the random players that is not the tank on the board. As well, you have to make sure you kite and dodge these pulses on the ground. They do a ton of damage now on Tyrannical, but most importantly is playing well with the haste zones that go down, these little absorbed fields. And when he does start, there's the quarantine that we're talking about, that jail, immediately they break the player out. Well done. You saw how hard that takes, even 1 tick. But when he does draw the players in here and does void that haste buff jack, it's very important for the players to get out because, especially on Tyrannical, he will likely one-shot them.
Yeah, but the Cleansing Force is going in here. You're seeing the Warlock sitting into the very, very last second. He's not trying to eat the floor. He just has a great portal here. And actually, you are seeing the cheat death going out for Brink, so he didn't get out quite in time there.
I'm not sure if that was planned because he was sitting in there. I'm not sure if that was planned because he wanted to, get that extra damage. And I don't know if he'd want to kind of waste that, I believe, 6-second, CD on it, but maybe he just did get caught and he didn't want to.
Well, I did notice that he was picking up a number of those haste buffs, so maybe it was just because of the the short duration that he has access to from that buff. He wants to make the most out of it, and he's okay with proccing cheat death and just sitting in it and taking advantage of it.
It's possible now. We are seeing a mass pull from Free Marsy. They have cleaned up Zakal. They're back over in Course-lax's room as well. A much more efficient pull here from them, really flexing the strength of that DK, putting himself right in the middle of that triangle of trash packs and AoE gripping everything to the middle, now kiting down the remaining ones. Some of them are high health, as you did see a ton of Sanguine pools go down, a lot of damage going out on the group, but overall they saved a lot of time. They do have 1 death on the board now, nothing too bad, but they did save a ton of time in this room, and they're still slightly ahead on track.
Well, this is the example that Honestly is set, though, is that even though Honestly keeps on having these little deaths here and there, it's not that big of a deal because they are taking the good trades. You're saying, I'm going to pull a little bit more trash here, I'm going to play a little bit more aggressively, if we get another death, something like that, it's me okay. Because guess what? Dorothy dies here, it's all right. They have a battle res. They have such a battle res heavy composition here that they are able to make up for it because they can pull more aggressively and they can pull more than you and still survive.
But we saw how punishing the death counter was for them in the last dungeon, so we'll have to keep that in mind. All of these are adding up. Free Marsy opted to take that safer route through the Demon Wing, which means they didn't have to incur on purpose 3 extra deaths worth of 15 seconds. So that's a 15-second buffer they will have going at the end of the dungeon. Honestly, does finish Course-lax off. They re-enslave the Chaos Bringer and will be moving into the heavy casting hallway leading up to Evanier, the 4th boss. Meanwhile, Free Marsy at 65% on Course-lax. Not too far behind. The boss does go down fairly quickly because of all the haste buff on the encounter, but honestly, here's going to have to do a very, very good job making sure to interrupt, and of course, the strength of the silence from the Solar Beam, silence these mobs when they do cast.
Yep, and you're seeing just quite a bit of trash that's going to be ahead of them here, and it looks like they should be having more than ample percent because they do have to pull so many of these mana worms, so many of these other mobs that are going to be leading up to it. So, right here, it's just going to be looking at how large of the pulls are going to be doing and just the positioning of them.
Right, you are. I mean, yeah, it is. We will have to see because I do think we had teaming in this dungeon a few times today, so the trash percentages were a bit wonkier in terms of what they needed to kill. They did get the spirit on top of. Did they bring the worms out too? I think they did.
Yes,
aggro the worms. Okay, so these worms will stay in their location and cast as long as any player is within their LOS, and I believe 40-yard range. So all the players, is important for them to LOS the target. This is a really messy pool right here. I mean, this spirit needs to be constantly interrupted. You can LOS it, but this hallway is so long that if you LOS it, you'll be out of range of DPS and healing the tank. Spirit does go down. There's going to be a Sanguine pool there that hopefully the worms don't go into once they LOS them. They'll be getting this anomaly down and then heading up the stairs to deal with the worms. I do like very much that they're holding the worms up there to make sure that they don't LOS around the corner and as a result go into that Sanguine pool and heal to full.
Yeah, you're right. That's actually a very, very good way of pulling it because they actually just let them sit there for a long time. They said, hey, I can sustain this damage. It's going to be acceptable. I can do this, no problem. But I just want to make sure that you guys are staying there, and if I'm going to, I'll move into you when I'm ready for you, right? We're seeing here they are getting kind of trapped in the Sanguine, so it's going to be very important to kind of get any kind of knockbacks they possibly can and keep on pushing them further into the room here.
Yeah, they do have, of course, that Typhoon that is available to them, might be on CD right now. They're getting really low, and he doesn't have that cheat death, so have to be careful to keep him alive. Gets down to 6% there. Luckily, no death for them. Free Marsy now moving into that hallway. Much more aggressive pull from those casters. They will have to, you know, interrupt a lot of those casts, especially the 50% cast that if they go off, it will fully heal a lot of those anomalies to full health if they fail to do those, you know, requiring a lot more DPS to get them down.
Yeah, but you're seeing here, honestly, you're just kind of ignoring that mana worm that got caught in the Sanguine at the end. You know, it'll come back to them as they are line of sighting it here. So they're not going to worry about too many more line of sight games. Instead, they're just going to focus on getting these trash bombs down. They've got the cleave, they've got the AoE that requires them to do it. Meanwhile, Free Marsy here at the bottom in red is working on the very same trash packs. So they already took out the caster, the Banshee mob, and of course they're just getting everything together here, the Blueberry and all the mana worms here, getting it all AoE down at the exact same time, and it's actually a very, very clean pull.
I'm not sure if they wanted to pull that pack that's on the side. That warp shade kind of came in from the bottom of the screen towards one of the non-tank players, and I do remember their previous round, they actually skipped this entirely, if I'm not mistaken, this pack on the right. We'll have to keep an eye on what their percent is nonetheless. They do have Bloodlust, and they do opt to use it immediately on the boss, pulling those two anomalies with the boss. I do like what they're doing here, keeping the anomalies slightly separated from the boss, as this is a caster boss. He is a very big pain in the butt to move, and you don't want to drop Sanguine under the boss and heal him up. So they're keeping them on the side. Really well done there by Pumps.
Yeah, but you're seeing even just a little bit of extra, you know, even if you're just sitting in the Sanguine for just a second or two, it really, really adds up, and it's just more damage that they really don't even want to have to be in that position to do extra. You know, it's all about a game of numbers, and when you're getting down just a couple seconds here and there, you know, that's really what you have to be looking at here. The important thing to look at here is Free Marsy is actually playing line of sight. They are going to be getting all those mana worms stacked up together, get them all AoE down, just like they did at the stairs at the entrance to this whole room.
Ooh, that was an early AoE grip from the Blood DK, who will not have that available in order to get them out of that Sanguine. You could see a couple worms caught in that Sanguine, healing all the way to full when they were already at 10-20% health. So that's going to cost them a bit of time. We do get that Typhoon coming out, luckily disorienting them, moving them from their position just a bit. Meanwhile, Evanier, of course, is a caster boss, as I mentioned, but does have that nether link that links 3 players together, including the tank. Any of the 5 players can be linked in a triangle fashion. They will have to lay down a proper shape on the ground. The smaller the better, because any player that traverses across that kind of nether void zone over there will take a ton of damage, especially on Tyrannical. And of course, Jack, you're no stranger. He does also do that pulsing AoE damage on 3 random members that need to spread out and not splash each other.
Yeah, just positioning is the name of the game. Thankfully, this room is very, very large, so you really don't have too many times where you're bumping elbows with any of your allies here. You are seeing very big pull coming out of Free Marsy here. They're at 92% in terms of trash. You know, they actually had, you know, very identical pull to what Honestly had. So they're making sure that they're trying to copy, they're trying to make sure that they're playing catch up, because at this point, this is what they really need. And it'll be interesting to see here, because they're going to get that last Blueberry down, so they'll have a little bit more trash percentage there, as Wrath is taking a huge, huge beating there. They get the last percent down, so they're at 94% compared to Honestly's 88.
So Honestly will have to definitely clear a bit more trash after this. Both teams will. You know, Honestly can't make up for that with an efficient pull. I mean, they might just pull 12% worth of trash, even though Free Marsy only needs 6%. We'll have to see, but they are certainly ahead on Evanier here. 15% now, almost downing the boss. Free Marsy is, I mean, substantially behind on this boss. You know, they're really banking on that 3 death differential plus the extra trash that Honestly has in order to try and make up and catch up in the dungeon. But Honestly has a pretty dominant lead in terms of boss percent right now.
I would definitely agree here, Salute. And you're seeing here just the extra percentage, the way that they're kiting across the room, it's very, very clean, and they're definitely making a big difference here. And this is what you want to be seeing out of the teams, is, you know, the best of the best for this grand finals, how they are optimizing these pulls. And that's why, you know, I think it was such a great idea for Honestly to be picking this map, because this is the one that they've always been looking very clean on, had minimal deaths, and the deaths that they do have, you know, are the purposeful ones. And even if a mistake does happen, you know, their team comp has always consistently, from, you know, regionals to this grand finals here, has always been built around, if we make a mistake, we can make up for it with our 4 battle rests.
I mean, we can even see on the damage meter, you know, lots of damage coming out from the 3 primary DPS, a bit higher on average than the ones from Free Marsy, but some of that is attributed to that enslaved mob that they have that gives that substantial damage and haste buff to the player of their choice. I think it's every 20 or 30 seconds, something like that, so it's up pretty frequently. Honestly, just now deciding where they should deal with their trash, you know, they kind of misstepped there. They didn't really know which one they wanted to go. I think they were a bit thrown off by the fact that the Spirit is currently patrolling there really annoying mob to deal with. That's where they're kind of hugging that left side wall, making sure that they don't kill the Spirit. Evanier down now to 35% on Free Marsy's side, just cleaning up the last of it. Lots of those pulsing nether orbs going around the map, making sure we're dodging those. The Spirit does get pulled in the end out of the solar beam as well. A lot of these mana wraiths actually do have AoE cast, and they were going down. He low. I mean, he doesn't have that cheat death. Miad does go down from one of the casts right now. I don't know if they have a battle res available. They do. They get him up right away. Nib, again, doesn't have that cheat death. He's dipped low a few times. All of them are dipping quite low.
Yeah, it's definitely a focus thing for the healer, making sure that they're able to, keep casting, keep moving. Dorothy's able to get a little bit extra space here from Miad, making sure that, don't stand so close to me here. And making sure that, keeping people topped off and as you're kind of kiting out around the room. They're at 97% here in terms of the trash. They're kind of looking at what else they can kind of get mopped up.
That's another 5% on the clock. Now, we just did see the Warrior down on Free Marsy go down to 4% health, barely held on. Luckily, no death there, no penalty for the 5 seconds. Of course, no penalty for the damage, especially in execute range of losing that Warrior. Evanier down to 3% health. I like that both teams have kind of moved the boss slowly towards the exit in both cases once they killed Evanier. They are able to finish him off. Free Marsy now 6% trash remaining. Honestly, is wrapping up their 100% remaining trash. These are the last 2 mobs they need to kill, after which they will very quickly hurry downstairs and start the final boss, Vandros. Free Marsy still has that 6% to make up.
Yeah, but you're seeing it's definitely going to be a race against time. Free Marsy really needs to haul and to be getting at as much trash as they can, out of the way very quickly and start pulling the advisor here. You're seeing, all of Team Honestly is getting posture. They're getting in position here and going to be engaging with the boss in just a second. And this is just, 4 death differential is not going to be too heavy, and it really is not enough at the moment for Free Marsy to, to say that they're close. They really need to play as aggressively as possible. They need to be getting this trash mob down, pull Advisor Vandros as fast as they possibly can.
That 4 death differential is basically the travel time back to Advisor Vandros in order for them to even pull the boss, which honestly has now done. Of course, the 2-phase fight at 50%, he will port these players to one of the 4 randomly to one of the 4 boss rooms that we saw earlier, putting them in this kind of nether twilight phase where you will have to fight your way back through some arcane mobs while dodging these exploding geodes. But before we get there, Jack, of course, the boss does spawn series, triplets of geodes that will explode and damage the players. Meanwhile, the players will have to dodge them, and of course does spawn these orbs that will push you all over the place. You need to make sure that you run against this wave as to not incur too much damage.
Yeah, but you're seeing here just maximizing their movement here. You are seeing the Seaver's proc on pump. Just that heavier extra damage that he's taking, so proccing a very nice shield out of the trinket from Dorothy, and it's very nice that he's running these saver trinkets, but it's also the time for him to make sure that he's adding in whatever kind of extra damage he is, because while they are a little bit ahead, and when they pulled about 15% ahead, it does look like Free Marsy is catching up.
Free Marsy is catching up. That's a lot of damage coming out of them. Keep in mind that this death differential honestly will need to beat them by at least 20 seconds, or Free Marsy will take the championship at this point. So it's all eyes on what's going on here. A lot is going to lie on what's going to happen in this transition phase, how cleanly they do it, and which rooms they get ported to as well, because some paths indeed are slightly easier than others.
Yep, and that's one of the things that you really hope that they have very similar paths, that they're able to be very well practiced, and they're always moving to the path of least resistance here. So it definitely shows that honestly is not as far as ahead as they really were hoping here. It's getting into this 10-11% difference, whereas at first it was around 15 to 16. So at this point, Marsy just has to unload. They have to give it everything they've got because everything is on the line here.
Yeah, they do go to that transition phase right now. The Chaos Bringer, of course, is left alone. They'll be able to re-enslave once they come back. It looks like they are in the... they ported to the Fellord's room, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. Yep, and so... Oh, no, the Spider's room, excuse me. So the first boss that did the Spider's room, they're running over from there. They will have to deal with a minimum of one of these arcane wraiths, these time-warped wraiths. So once they kill them, first of all, you need to interrupt them because they do stun lock someone for 10 seconds, channeled. And unfortunately, they did not move quickly enough here. This second Wraith you can actually skip if you move quickly enough by rooting it on the side. They were too slow, and the path did come up here. Lots of pulsing damage going out on the team. Range can, of course, outrange that pulsing damage, but still a ton of damage going up on the Rogue.
Yeah, but you're seeing, honestly, he's just trying to... This is going to be the third ad, I believe, that they're taking care of here, and just trying to get as much damage out as they possibly can, get it down, and then get back to the boss very rapidly here. You're seeing Free Marsy is actually very close. They're almost back to the boss as well.
They were on the a slightly more favorable side, spawning in Evanier's room, a bit more ground to cover as a result, but they do have to, they had a better opportunity to skip some of the mobs right now. It's going to be neck and neck here. Keep in mind that Honestly needs to win by at least 20 seconds to overcome that death differential between the two teams. The only new ability in this repeat of Phase 1 is, of course, that unstable mana cast that we see going up right now on Marsy's side. You do have to run away as you lay arcane bombs down every half second that explode on you and any players in the area. They don't do it very well there, that you could kind of rotate around the boss in a coordinated fashion and maintain 100% uptime. Free Marsy, though, pulled ahead now of damage on Team Honestly. They're going to take this. I mean, if there's no deaths right now, Free Marsy is going to take this. They're going to have a full reverse sweep on this series.
Full reverse sweep in the grand finals of the first Mythic Dungeon Invitational here.
It's historical.
It's historical.
Honestly, still trailing. I mean, they're just getting further and further ahead. Honestly has really not has not benefited single target damage that much from the MC earlier from the Warlock. Free Marsy just playing it nice and safe, kiting around the outside of the room. 10% left on Vandross. At this point, they need a wipe. Honestly, will not win unless they wipe because of the 4-death differential. We're going to have Free Marsy here. We're going to crown our first champion of the MDI. Free Marsy is going to take this.
Bring out your brew.